All right, let's jump right in. What if I told you that the best way to get more streams on Spotify is to, well, stop sending people to Spotify? Yeah, I know, it sounds completely backward. But today we're going to break down a really fascinating marketing strategy that generates massive organic growth by intentionally not using a single link.
So, let me ask you a serious question. Are your music ads actually creating listeners, or are they just racking up views? You're spending your hard-earned money, you're seeing the view count go up, but is that turning into actual long-term fans, or are they just empty stats that the algorithms are getting smarter and smarter at ignoring? Let's figure that out.
So here's the deal. The old way of doing things, running an ad with a big Listen Now button that shoves traffic straight to a streaming service, it's broken. It just is. The whole digital ad space is oversaturated, and the platform algorithms have gotten incredibly smart. And trust me, they can definitely tell the difference between a low-quality forced click and a genuine fan who's actually interested.
And this slide really lays it all out. On the left, you've got that old forced ad traffic. To the algorithms, that's just noise. It's a low-quality signal they've learned to discount. But on the right, now that's the goal. High-intent discovery. This is when someone actively opens their music app and searches for your song. That single action sends a powerful signal of genuine interest. And believe me, the platforms reward that kind of behavior.
Just think about your own behavior for a second. You're scrolling through your feed, a video ad for a song starts autoplaying. You might watch a few seconds of it, but you're not really listening, are you? That passive consumption, it doesn't do anything to trigger the important audio algorithms on Spotify or Apple Music. So that traffic isn't just neutral, it can actually be a liability.
So if passive traffic is the enemy, what's the solution? Well, this is where we need to completely flip the script. We have to stop thinking about a simple digital conversion, just getting a click, and start focusing on what we call a behavioral conversion. The goal isn't to get a click anymore. It's to create a memory so strong that the user feels compelled to take action all on their own. And that brings us to the absolute core concept of this whole thing, behavioral conversion. It's pretty simple, really. It's when your marketing makes someone take an independent action. They see your ad, the song gets stuck in their head, they close whatever app they're in, open up their music app, and physically type in your name and song title. That's a fundamentally different and way more valuable signal than a mindless click. This totally changes what we're aiming for, right? We're no longer asking how many clicks did we get. Instead, we're asking three totally new questions. First, are we optimizing for memory? Did that song get stuck in their head? Second, are we optimizing for recall? Can they actually remember the artist and song title later? And finally, do we optimize for action? Did we create enough desire for them to go hunt down the song themselves? Now look, this isn't just some random, clever trick. It's a whole repeatable system. It's a framework called the four-pillar engine, and it's designed to create this exact kind of organic growth in a predictable way and at scale. So let's break down each of these four pillars. So pillar number one is all about creative and recall. And this is a big one. Since there's no link to click, your ad's creative has to do all of the heavy lifting. I mean, its one and only job is to get so deeply lodged in the viewer's brain, to create such a powerful earworm that they feel like they have to go find it. So how do we actually do that? How do you engineer recall? Well, there are three key tactics. First, something called the incomplete loop. This is just genius. You cut the music off right before the hook fully resolves. This creates a psychological tension, this itch that the brain desperately wants to scratch. Second, visual anchors. This is so simple, but it's crucial. The artist and song title have to be on the screen the entire time, no exceptions. And third, subliminal prompts. You can subtly animate a search bar on screen with the song info being typed into it. You're showing them exactly what to do without ever saying a word.
Okay, so once your creative is perfectly engineered to be memorable, we move on to pillar two, bidding and targeting. Because look, a killer ad is pretty useless if the wrong people see it, right? This part is all about precision over power. It's not about how many people you reach, but who you reach. And this chart just says it all. 1 million cheap, passive views from a super broad audience. To the music algorithms, that's practically worthless. But 10,000 views from a highly targeted, super engaged audience, we're talking people who are actually watching for 30 seconds or more, that is exponentially more valuable. We're hunting for quality, never quantity. So you did it. You got them to search for your song. That's a huge win. But wait, we're not done yet. That brings us to pillar three, because the search is just the beginning. Once they land on your track inside Spotify or Apple Music, your entire ecosystem on that platform has to be ready to convert them from a curious searcher into a real fan.
And these are the signals that really matter. On one side, you've got the bad signals, the red flags, people skipping the song after a few seconds, low completion rates. The algorithm hates that stuff. But on the other side, that's the good stuff. High completion rates, people saving the track to their library, and the holy grail, adding it to one of their own playlists. Those actions basically scream, this is a high-intent fan, to the algorithm.
This brings us to the final, and maybe the most mind-bending pillar, measurement. Now, I know what you're probably thinking. If there are no links, how on earth do I know if it's working? And that's a fair question. The answer is, we stop obsessing over direct attribution, and instead, we embrace correlation.
So, does all this theory actually hold up in the real world? Oh, you bet it does. Let's dig into the Practice Girl case study. This is the campaign that really proved this entire framework isn't just possible, but incredibly powerful.
Just let this number sink in for a second. At its peak, this campaign was generating 40,000 streams in a single day. And it did all of this without a single ad ever linking directly to Spotify or Apple Music. Not one. All of that growth was driven by people independently searching for the song.
And this was all measured using something called correlation mapping. It's actually a pretty simple idea when you break it down. You measure the impact of one thing, like your YouTube ad views, by watching for a matching change in a totally separate set of data, like your Spotify stream count. When one goes up, you should see the other one follow right behind it.
But to really prove that the ads were causing the streams, they used this brilliant method called geofencing. Here's how it worked. First, they isolated their ad campaign, targeting just 3 specific cities. That's it. Second, they ran a concentrated burst campaign for only 72 hours. And third, they jumped into their Spotify for Artists data to check the analytics. And what do you think they found? A massive spike in streams in those exact 3 cities. That's the smoking gun right there.
Okay, so you've seen the theory, you've seen the proof. Now let's get practical. How do you actually set up your very first behavioral demand campaign? Let's walk through the most important settings you need to know. Now, setting this up is going to feel really weird because it goes against everything you've probably been taught. For your campaign goal, you literally choose Create a Campaign Without a Goals guidance. You're going to bid for cost per view, or CPV. You want to run on YouTube only. Uncheck those video partners. You also have to exclude TV screens because people can't easily search from their couch. And the big one, the call to action button, you leave it completely blank. Yep, you heard me right, no button. This quote right here really nails the entire philosophy. You are intentionally, purposefully forcing a tiny bit of friction. You're making it just a little bit harder for them. And why would you do that? Because that small act of overcoming friction, of actually opening the app and typing in the name, is 1,000 times more valuable to the algorithm than an easy, lazy, passive click. So that's the whole framework. It is a complete 180 from traditional digital advertising. Yeah, it requires more creative thinking and a totally different way of measuring success. But the results clearly show it taps into something much, much more powerful. And it really just leaves us with one fundamental choice. Are you going to keep marketing for cheap clicks, or are you going to start creating unforgettable memories?